Are you ready? Everyone is like watching already. Yes, I am. Keep talking. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining our conversation with Rita Desnoyers-Garcia. Today, we're going to talk about what a subject. We're going to talk about self-compassion, which is the key to making lasting change. And I'm going to introduce Rita. She is an author of Becoming Awake, or the owner of Becoming Awake, and author of the Self-Compassion Project. How to become emotionally stronger, more effective, and happier by giving yourself a break. Ooh, I just want to take a breath. Rita has been helping people reach the true potential for over 30 years. That's a number. She has a BA in psychology from College of the Holy Cross and an MSSW, I was curious what it is, from Columbia University. What is MSSW?
It's an MSW, but at Columbia, they consider a Master of Science of Social Work. So it's
Gotcha.
MSSW. Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. And after a long career as a social worker in New York City, and while raising her family, she had a spiritual transformation. I would be curious to hear about that. She is now a spiritual teacher, speaker, a life coach, an author, comedian, and musician. I want to hear that too. I wish we had an hour or a day together. She is the author of 3 books: Extraordinary Abundance, Outside of the Box, Live Experiments, and my favorite, the Self-Compassion Project. She's a creator of the Forest Meditations. Thank you for correction. And you can find her at becomingawake.com. She's living with her husband and her 3 children in New Jersey. With that said, okay, I went through the bio. Let's talk about the Self-Compassion Project, or self-compassion. Yeah. So what is it really? What is it, self-compassion, Rita?
Well, Merriam-Webster's dictionary, I tried to put the dictionary definition there because I was like, all right, let's be on the same page about this. Yeah. So the Merriam-Webster defines compassion as a sympathetic consciousness of someone else's distress with the desire to alleviate it. So you're conscious that someone's in distress and you want to help them out, right? So my more cosmic woo-woo definition would be something like, this is seeing people through God's eyes. This is the divine energy working through you. And in fact, a lot of the book is about how to connect through having compassion for yourself, seeing yourself through God's eyes, seeing yourself through that divine energy. So the self-compassion really is about going into that consciousness where you see yourself as someone who is deserving of love and space and time and attention and recognition and acknowledgement. And in that experience of giving that to yourself, and of course there's exercises in the book, you then become more aware of what's really going on within yourself. And that is why it's really about lasting change, because when you lose that thread of what you're really about, then you're less likely to go forward and do the things you need to do to change. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's why it's the key to long lasting. You know, it's interesting now that you're sharing, and I'm thinking, wow, I just recently I can't remember how this topic came to me, but I had one of my talks for Toastmasters. It was a competition, was about, are you worthy of love? And one of my main points was, you are worthy of love. I call it by default, but what it means, somebody asked me what default means. It's the consciousness, it's the universe, it's the God, or whatever it is for us. You're worthy by default, and it got valued by actions. And what I love in your project, in your book, that you lead us through the exercises, how to come to that foundational love and compassion. Like, yes, one thing is I'm hearing that, but how do I actually do and feel that? And that's what you're leading us through with the exercises. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
Rita, can you share, like, I'm really curious, you had a spiritual transformation. Can you share the story?
Sure. So I would preface this with saying that most spiritual transformations happen when everything really sucks, when it feels really awful, right before, it's always darkest before the dawn. So for me, what happened was I have 3 children, and when they were 4 years and under, so I had kind of like a preschool class in my house, I wasn't busy enough, apparently, and I decided to start another business. I had a business before that, but this one was about selling health and wellness products on the phone using cold leads, which is an exercise in humility, really, and comedy. And so I was really trying to make this business work. I was doing all sorts of kooky things, like didn't really have childcare. So I was trying to do that with kids running around. Sometimes I would be trying to close a client with a toddler on my knee. I had all these physical ailments going on. I was just completely ignoring all of the signals that were saying this is not a good idea. And so I never forget this. I had a meeting with the person who was providing leads for us, and he called us all together. And on this phone call, my kids are running around. He says, hey guys, I just want to let you know that I've been giving you these leads, and no one seems to be closing anyone. So look, if you don't close anyone in the next 2 weeks, I'm just going to have to remove all the leads. And I remember feeling this like bolt of energy go through me of, oh my God, this is the last thing I want to hear. I haven't closed anybody. I don't know what I'm doing. And I only have 2 weeks, and now the pressure's on and everything's going to be terrible. And I just felt the message that was, you're a failure. And this is another reason why you're a failure. You're always going to be a failure. And this was your last hope of being successful. And so it was kind of all coming down on me at once. And of course, so I remember in the meeting, I had the mute button on my phone, and I started crying. And what I didn't notice was that my kids were also crying for a different reason, which was I wasn't paying attention to them because I was so absorbed by trying to be a success and trying to be like a millionaire and trying to retire my husband and save my family. But I was just making everything worse in my family. So it was all coming down on me at that moment. And my glimmer of hope was I found a coach who I thought was going to help me close clients. So I rang him up, and the first meeting I had with him, he said to me, in this moment, can you just be really kind and gentle with yourself? And even telling this story, I feel like crying because I don't remember anyone giving me that option. And maybe if they did, I just wasn't in the space, in the consciousness to receive it. And so one part of my brain was going, what's the point of that? What? Kind and gentle? Where is this going to get me? This is not very productive. I got to work harder. And then the other part of my brain was just like, well, why don't you try it? And I surrendered to it, and I just started bawling. I was just weeping. And in that moment, I realized I stopped being a failure. I stopped being a terrible mom or a terrible businesswoman or a terrible wife or a terrible daughter or whatever it was that was going around in my head. And just for that moment, I was being really kind and gentle with myself. And that I knew was very significant at that moment, but I had no idea that it was going to lead me to all sorts of things. First amongst that was taking a step away from what I was doing in my business and exploring what really drives me. What do I really believe? Not what I tell myself I believe, but what do I really believe? And how is that creating everything that's going on? I worked with this guy for 4 years on the phone. I've never met him in person. We did all phone work. And he brought me down a completely different path. It was this path of self-compassion, self-understanding, self-acceptance, creating from what's inspired in you versus what you're afraid of, letting go of all sorts of stuff. So it was an amazing journey, but that was where it started, was that phone call and then the next phone call to him.
Wow. So Rita, how self-compassion can help break through limiting patterns, limiting beliefs?
So one of the things that we have when we have a belief is sometimes we're kind of afraid to look at what we believe, because if we look at it, we may find out something really horrible about ourselves. Like if the belief is I'm not good enough, then looking at that belief, I'm not good enough, in some way in our minds confirms it. Well, I guess that's the truth. I'm not good enough. Can't do anything about it. I'm just not good enough. But what self-compassion does is it takes that I'm not good enough and we just sit with it. Like, the Buddhists would calling sitting down and having tea with yourself. So you're just sitting down and going, so you're not good enough. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you're suffering with that. Oh my gosh, that must be horrible to walk around all day feeling like you're not good enough. That's exhausting. And as you start that journey of, treating yourself like you would like someone you're actually friends with, like if your pal came up to you, said, I just don't feel good enough. I just don't feel like I'm not good enough. You wouldn't say, yeah, that sucks for you. Try harder. You would be like, oh, honey, you're the best. Come on. Where did you come up with that one? And then you have a conversation. And so the self-compassion work is an opportunity to have a conversation with yourself where you're writing out all of the things you really believe, and then having some inquiry about that, like, is that even true? And then having some sympathetic consciousness around that. Like, that must have been really hard for you all your life, thinking that about yourself.
Yeah. And it's interesting when you're sharing that. I often refer working with my clients is having a conversation with your kid that you actually love.
Yes.
Is your inner child, but I like when you said have a tea with yourself.
Yeah.
Is having a conversation. And what you have in the Self-Compassion Project book is steps. Sometimes when I hear as a client, for example, how do I have a conversation? It can be self-bullying conversation, more of it. But you actually given, do this first. You just said, what's up, honey? Do this second. Oh, I hear you. You're compassionate or sympathizing with the person. And then you go step by step all the way to a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And giving time yourself, not pushing it. In fact, your story of transformation actually resonates with me. I was already coaching, and my own coaches will say, Nadia, just be easy on yourself. Love yourself. Tell me how you love yourself. And I'm like, what do you mean? I do this, and that.
Yeah.
Trying harder. So
right.
I resonate with you. Rita, so the final question is, so here's self-compassion. How can I make sure, maybe another tip you can give us an overall picture. How can I have self-compassion maybe as a foundation to my long-lasting changes, to my long-lasting transformation, and anything I want to do? Hobby.
So what I have found in my own life, because, I test everything out myself. I'm my own guinea pig first. And then I tried on other people. I'm like, look, this has worked for me. Why don't you try it too? Yeah. So what I do in my own life is, because, anytime you're trying to make change, there are going to be bumps. There's going to be setbacks. You're going to fall down. This is part of the process. You're going to fall down and you get back up. So when you've fallen down, one of the impulses is to just quit and say, this doesn't work and I'm just a loser. So that's where the self-compassion comes in, where you sit down, you're sitting on the ground, you've fallen figuratively or literally. And you just, for me, I kind of sometimes I just kind of tap my chest and go, oh, sweet baby, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Are you hurt? Do you feel bad? Okay, let's just sit with that. Let's just feel that. Because I know if I sit with the sensations in my body that I call sadness or frustration or whatever, and I just let them run their course without going around in my brain a lot, they will pass. They do. So the self-compassion process really is understanding what the story is that's keeping you stuck. It's feeling the feelings in your body and letting them come up and out. And then seeing from that what you really need. And when we give ourselves what we really need, which is what we're trying to get from the outside world all the time, by the way, all the time, when we give ourselves what we really need, then we're able to take the next step in the journey and get back on track. And to me, that's how lasting change happens, is consistency and persistence, and you just keep going no matter what. And sometimes you're going to change your path a little here or there, but it's okay. You just keep going. You just don't quit. And for me, the self-compassion has been the balm. It's been the soothing, gentle kindness that I need to keep on track. It's like someone whispering in your ear, you can do this. I know you just fell down, but you can get back up, and I love you, and don't worry about it, and just keep going. You're doing great, honey. That's how I keep going. That's how you make lasting change.
It's almost like you're doing the work with yourself, for yourself, being curious on what's happening, understanding, receiving, letting it be, and what is it that you really need. Yeah, an ongoing work. It was so beautiful, Rita. Well, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, my gosh, this can be a session, this can be a group session, this can be a retreat. There's just so many opportunities to embrace and even start. Sometimes it's hard just to start the first step.
Yeah.
But oh boy, when you jump into the journey of loving yourself through self-compassion,
Yeah.
like the whole world is love.
Yeah, you go into that consciousness, even for a brief moment, and you realize, wait, I don't just deserve love. I am freaking love. I am that.
Woo-hoo!
That's where I come from. That's what I am. So when you tap into that, when the cloud cover is parted, because you've got all that other stuff on top of it, and it starts, then you can be that, and your cup can overflow. And then all of a sudden you start to have more compassion for everyone else, because you go, oh my God, we're all doing this to ourselves. You poor thing.
Isn't that amazing? Wow, Rita. Well, I know we can talk for hours and hours on that subject. How can we find you? How can we get connected with you?
So, of course, my website, becomingawake.com, is a great way to be connected. The other one is I'm on Facebook, Becoming Awake. I have a specific private Facebook group called Calm Mom Alliance, which is, you don't have to be a mom, but it's for women who are interested in being less stressed and less overwhelmed. I'm on Instagram. The book is on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Goodreads. It's also on my site. You can get it there too. So all of those places are wonderful places to plug in.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rita. And I want to finish up with this thing. And who is watching, I'd like to do it with everyone. I'd like us to say out loud, I'm freaking love. Shall we do that?
Wait, what are we saying?
Say out loud, I'm freaking love. Shall we?
I am freaking love. Yeah, okay.
3, 2, 1, let's go. I'm freaking
love.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you,
and I'll
Nadia.
put some more contact information in the comments as well. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Nadia, my friend.